District Court, which is the order which they had given for the survey of the Gyanvapi Mosque. So my first question to you, Ashok, is what does that order mean and what do we know by the survey? What would survey entail?
Well, you see, on Friday afternoon, this Varanasi District Sessions judge delivered a verdict which basically upheld the petition or an application by Hindu women who had said that they wanted a survey, a scientific survey of the area on which the Gyanwapi Mosque has been constructed, because their basic premise of their petition is that this is being built by Emperor Aurangzeb by demolishing an existing temple here, and now they want this whole process to be revisited. What has happened is that the Varanasi court has accepted their application. It has said that it has allowed a survey to be carried out. They have said that the survey will be carried out by the Archaeological Survey of India. It shall be carried on between 8 a.m. to 12 noon. The third thing the court has said is that the Archaeological Survey of India should be submitting a report of the survey to the court by August 4th.
Ashok, if I may ask you, there was a survey which was also done at the Babri complex after the demolition. How is that survey similar to this survey, or they are both different?
Well, they are kind of identical.
How are they identical?
Identical in the sense that even at that point in time, the Archaeological Survey of India was given the task of carrying out a survey on the disputed Babri Masjid complex. And one thing is there, I want to bring it to your notice, is that that survey was ordered in 2002, and the survey was completed by the Archaeological Survey of India in 2005. So it took them 3 years to complete it. Now here is a situation where the Varanasi court is telling the Archaeological Survey of India to carry it out in the gap of 2 weeks. And they are saying that we want you to file a report. Now I'll tell you what happens in an archaeological...
I think, you know, on here, why was this survey ordered, and then you can get into the detail. I think we need to give this is the context, we must have the subtext of it. Why was the survey ordered?
Well, because, you know, they have been, they were saying that this survey, basically this mosque was built on the ruin, a temple was broken and then this mosque was built. And they said that, you know, that there is already a dispute going on over, you know, the Shivling like structure which is going on in the apex court. So the apex court has sealed the entire premise. So the ASI has been asked or tasked with carrying out a scientific survey of everything other than the area, the wazukhana, which has been sealed on the orders of the apex court. The intent of the survey would be, as the other side has already said, that they will approach the Allahabad High Court to seek a stay on this. That if the survey indicates that yes, this structure belongs to this era where a temple was constructed or things like that, then that will make the case of the Hindu side much more stronger.
So there are two things. Material from an old Hindu temple used to build a mosque. Second is was this structure built on a pre-existing structure that was sacred to Hindu temples, obviously. And the third was the issue of destruction of Swayambhu Jyotirling. Now, coming back to the point which you were trying to conclude, Ashok.
Yes. So now, as Brajesh pointed out, that on what grounds or what are the reasons that the court believes that this survey should be carried out. I am just coming to the point that how does an Archaeological Survey of India conduct these surveys? Now, these are basically geological surveys. Carbon dating methods have to be adopted. So in the disputed Babri Masjid site, you have to understand the site was a bigger site, whereas the Kashi Vishwanath temple and the Gyanwapi Mosque is a smaller site. So what will happen here is the Archaeological Survey of India will be assisted by geologists, by other scientists who will carry out carbon dating by the way of carbon dating technique, try to figure out how old are the structures which exist today, how old it is, number one. Number two, whether, as you rightly pointed out, whether ruins, whether this temple or this mosque was built by using the structure of a pre-existing temple. Now, those are the things in the Babri Masjid or the Ram Janmabhoomi dispute also. This thing was discovered by the Archaeological Survey of India, where they carried out this survey on the site. They did a lot of digging work also at the particular site. So they discovered that there were a lot of remains, prehistorical remains were there. In fact, structures dating to the 5th and the 6th century were discovered from that particular site. Now here again the same exercise is being repeated. An attempt is being made to find out whether this mosque, Gyanvapi Mosque, which the Muslim side claims was built by Emperor Aurangzeb, but the Hindu sides disputed that there was this temple which was demolished, and after demolishing, this Gyanwapi Mosque has been constructed.
Which was subsequently, the site structure was built by Ahilyabai Holkar. And that new structure was built in early 17th century. So there are three parts, but it's a three-part question. One is, who are these petitioners and what do they want to do? Brijesh, that is my question to you. These women worshippers, which part of that mosque complex they want to open?
See, basically, the first petition was that they wanted to be allowed to do worship, to carry out ritual, and it was limited to that. Later on, the entire petition got expanded and various orders came on. Even the attempt to do a carbon dating of the Shivling, the alleged Shivling which is there in the Gyanwapi, inside the Gyanwapi Mosque, which is getting a lot of back and forth that whether it is there or not. The thing is that particular petition by those 4 women have been used, and this is the reason why the ASI survey has been ordered by the Varanasi District Court. But I think tomorrow or on Monday, the other side is going to approach the Allahabad High Court to seek a stay on the order of the Varanasi District Court.
Okay. The second part of this conversation is, what about the law which was enacted by Parliament after Babri Masjid was demolished? And that law said that no other structure, it will not be, the status quo will remain, it will not change. Now in this case, this question is both legal and cultural. In this case, if it is established, if there is a temple and you have that law, what happens? How do you reconcile this urge to find what lies beneath with the law that has been enacted by the Parliament?
Well, this is exactly the argument of the Muslim sides, which are opposed to the idea of any sort of a scientific study being carried out by the Archaeological Survey of India. Now they are saying that, look, there are historical sites in this country. Now they have been over many centuries, they have been demolished, new structures have come up. Now revisiting those times and putting the hands of the clock back historically will not serve any purpose, number one. Number two, they said that there is a law in place which is called the Places of Worship Act. Now this Places of Worship Act was enacted in 1991, and at that point in time the Parliament passed this law saying that any place of religious worship, whatever its nature was, on 15th August 1947 it shall not be altered, come what may. So the biggest hurdle the problem which the Hindu sides will face is the Places of Worship Act. Now here these petitions were filed. Actually the first petition was filed by a lawyer from Varanasi in the year 1991, but subsequently there were many more petitions which have been filed, which have added to the to the legal mess that we are witnessing today. They are saying that this particular site is not attracted by the Places of Worship Act because the first petition was filed before the Places of Worship Act was enacted. But
that was when, Ashok?
That was in 1991. There was a lawyer from Varanasi who had filed the first civil suit raising this issue or rather raising this dispute of the Gyanwapi Mosque. However, all said and done, what needs to be seen is that Places of Worship Act is a law as it exists today. The law is very clear that places of worship as they were on 15th August 1947, this date is significant because that is the date when we achieved our independence.
It's a law made by Parliament. Is it repealable, Brijesh?
You can make amendment to the law. You can, but for that's a long process. It's not going to be.
So my question, is it a simple majority law, a law which is passed by simple majority, or will it pertain that 2/3 thing which you require for the Constitution?
Any change to the law requires an absolute majority.
So 2/3 is not required.
2/3 is not required. I'll have to check whether 2/3 this particular change attracts 2/3 or not. But one thing is very clear that this particular you have to change law. You have to
because
go to
I recall
Parliament.
it was a simple majority, because even then,
Even in
that
1991,
Narasimha Rao never had those numbers.
Yeah.
So and he could never muster it. So I think it's simple majority.
Simple majority also, but then you'll have to introduce it in the Parliament. There is a proper procedure which is laid out. It's not that you can just carry out any change in the law as per your whims and fancies. And the situation is the Supreme Court is already seized of the matter. They had gone to Supreme Court where they said that they will ask the High Court to collect all the batch of petitions and expedite its hearing. So it'll be very interesting to see how this moves forward, because there is another trouble brewing at the Mathura Krishna Janmabhoomi. There is also another. I mean, the lower court had ordered. It'll be interesting to see how the higher court takes cognizance of this.
Ashok, you can add to what he's saying, but how do you carbon date it? Can you just shed light on the fact that a lot of people said that what looks like Shivling, if you want to carbon date it, how do you carbon date it? Because फिर तो वो प्रतिमा वो भंग हो जाएगी. मतलब carbon dating कैसे की जाएगी? Aren't these questions being considered?
See, as far
is
as
it sonar dating?
As far as this particular disputed Shivling is concerned, whereas the Hindus say that this particular thing is a Shivling, whereas the Muslim side say that this is just a fountain. Now that part or that area has been sealed off by Supreme Court orders. Now the Supreme Court orders are very clear that you can't do anything here. Now on Friday, what the Varanasi court is saying is that barring that area which has been sealed by the Supreme Court, you can carry out an archaeological survey or scientific survey on the rest of the area. Now that includes the 3 domes of the Gyanvapi Mosque, the western wall which separates the temple with the mosque. Now those are the things which can be done in a preliminary level. Number 2, carbon dating is basically a scientific technique where the half-life of carbon, because in every basically stones are also chemical compounds and they have a certain amount of carbon into it. So they measure the half-life, that is about, you take a sample from that particular structure you want to date. You take a small piece from it, try to figure out what is the carbon content in it, how old is it, what is the carbon life, and come to some sort of a arithmetic assessment saying that this particular structure seems to be so many years old. But they cannot verify whether it's a fountain or a Shivling. Now that's something for which the courts will decide on. But I just wanted to add one very important thing that Brijesh pointed out earlier was on Friday another very important development took place. This was with respect to Krishna Janmabhoomi dispute between, now there is a problem which is brewing up in Mathura also with respect to Krishna Janmabhoomi side and the Shahi Eidgah, which is just very, in fact there is a wall which separates the temple from the Eidgah. So what happened today, or rather what happened on Friday, was the simple fact that the Supreme Court said that why not all the civil suits which have been filed in Mathura Civil Court, why should they not be all clubbed together and sent to the Allahabad High Court for the High Court to consider it? Let's not have the district judge or the trial court in Mathura to go into it. Now, I think a similar course could be adopted here also in Allahabad, in Varanasi, where the High Court or when the matter comes to the Supreme Court said, okay, forget the problem, forget the fact that the Varanasi court hears it. Why don't we club all the civil suits, transfer it to the Allahabad High Court, Allahabad High Court will hear it, and then whatever happens, you can come to the Supreme Court for the final adjudication. However, that also entails taking away the first appeal from the respondent. So,
there is always a political side to this legal nuance, and you have put it very beautifully. But unlike Ayodhya, the momentum for Mathura and Varanasi, 2 different sets of cases, it is having a momentum from the civil society. RSS has kept its peace. It's quiet. Though RSS had officially adopted it, first BHP did the canvassing for it. When Balasaheb Devras was the Sarsang Chalak, and then the RSS went for it, then the BJP went for it. Why is this different this time? Can you give me a historical perspective?
Basically, Ashok Singhal was one of the key architects as far as Ayodhya issue was concerned. See, Kashi, Mathura and Ayodhya were the initial 3 places of worship where the BJP was big on. But post when this particular issue came out, the current Sarsang Chalak, Mohan Bhagwat, very famously made a remark which very strangely and perhaps for the first time attracted a lot of criticism, when he said that if we should stop this practicing of looking inside a temple or a masjid, trying to find a temple or a mosque there. So this particular statement of Mohan Bhagwat attracted a lot of criticism. See, the point is that there are certain times when, you know, the main organization doesn't associate or attach to it, because once you are in power, your entire mechanism is different. You cannot behave the way when you were in opposition, and that is the change which is there. But the thing which is going on right now in Kashi, in Mathura, has full support of VHP, has full support of the BJP, and there is not a single person either from the BJP or from the VHP or from the Congress who has said that he is against what is happening right now. You know, the players may be private. The players may be private, but they are fully backed by the organization. So it is not like you know, that the parties are complete, because they know the kind of boomerang it can, if this kind of impression goes, that they are kind of averse to it. I don't think you can recall in your you know, understanding when was the last time the RSS Sarsang Chalak had to listen to the kind of vitriolic attack he had to face on social media and various other platforms.
I think that's very well put. Ashok, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to add one thing to what Brijesh has already pointed out, is that, you know, you have to understand the dynamics. What happens is, as a political party, you can take a particular stand when you are in the opposition. But when you are the government, you know, at the end of the day, the government of India is a secular government. You know, it cannot be seen to be pandering to one particular religious group. It has to deal with all religious groups in the country in an even-handed manner. It cannot be seen, or it should not be seen, to be, you know, pushing forward the agenda of one particular religious group. So that kind of explains the fact that they are the players in these particular petitions also, but they are on the fringes at this point in time.
On this, I would like to conclude our special explainer on the Gyanvapi Mosque. But let me tell you one thing, that the debate has shifted its course multiple times. As the debate conversation in Ayodhya, it was a matter related to land, fought as a property suit, and then became a matter of faith in the Supreme Court. You know, these are the nuances of law. But even in this case, something which was part and parcel of the cultural mobilization done by RSS and BJP, Kashi, Ayodhya, Mathura, which was spoken in one language, today the whole conversation around it is, let the truth be out. Now you have a law which is in place in Parliament. You have this conversation and narrative that if law can be made, law can be repealed. So what happens in Mathura and what happens in Kashi will have far deeper, far longer and far more profound consequences than what happened at Ayodhya. Thank you for watching NEWS9 Explainer.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it.
It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemy